We are building the slowest calculator you could possibly imagine.
I hope this works. I'm actually gonna cry.
It's going to fail.
This could be a complete failure. I'm Jim Griffin. I am here at Bridgewater RARITAN High School, and one of my favorite math YouTubers, Matt Parker, did this out in England a couple of years ago. Loved watching the video. Actually consulted with him a little bit on the ins and outs of it. So they had 2 days to work on the project, so they did a 3-bit and then a 4-bit. We're only going to get the 3-bit in. The idea here is that we are building essentially the slowest, least efficient calculator you could possibly imagine.
Hi, I'm Nandini Singh. I'm the design/build.
Hi, I'm Keshav. So we're trying to build a
3-bit calculator, so we have
3 individual numbers, 6 inputs, and outputs the sum of those 2 numbers.
The idea here is that we are taking something that happens with electrons carrying the signal, and we're replacing those electrons with dominoes.
Zach, because I'm both builder and designer. The reason why dominoes are good is because dominoes, obviously if you set up in a chain, they can keep falling. So it's almost like you're pushing a signal.
One of the things that this lesson and this unit is about is something we call logic gates. One's called an XOR gate, and the other one is an AND gate.
By sequencing dominoes in a certain pattern, we can initiate certain delays or junctions, merges.
Only if I knock over this input and this input will the output fall over.
So I thought it would be a lot harder than it looked, because when we were watching that video in class, I was like, oh, this is gonna be really hard. But a lot of it is kind of just copy paste.
When he actually introduces us to the idea of logic gates, I ain't gonna lie, I thought it was gonna be pretty damn easy.
Because it's a lot of the same things.
So my brain was thinking, oh, I just take a bunch of gates, put them together, shove them together, boom, and get a calculator.
I'm gonna eat this in one by one.
See how many dominoes you can get in people's pockets.
Watch them.
Oh my god.
But we literally have never timed this before.
I don't want to do that. Timing's literally the most important. Obviously, it's the biggest factor for success.
Yeah, I'm saying it's easier to add a delay here.
Well, we need this for safety anyway. We're trying to figure out how many dominoes we need to put in here to match the delay that we're giving.
We need a single input, so we can't knock them all out separately. We need a single input, so the delay here has to match the delay here.
So this is a time, right?
Yeah. Dominoes rely all about timing.
So earlier bits, they have to process before the later bits would happen in. So if you're gonna put them all in at the same time, you gotta build some buffer into it.
Wait, we're so stupid.
What?
I know, but why are we gonna do this? We could just do this.
Oh, you're big brain.
That's so much smarter.
So much smarter. No, but then the star has to be over here anyway.
That's fine.
So? Just do it again. Here's your mission for your groups of 3 or more. Everything starts at the same time.
You made this really complicated way to start all the dominoes at the same time. We measured out every time. We did calculations. And then Zach just did a binary tree, which is way easier. It takes 10 seconds to do it, and it's much more logical.
So with the binomial tree, we're able to replicate each section easily. You can easily just take the tape and increase the scale of them, so it became much easier to replicate rather than the complex timing that we had before with 5 different things converging to one point and creating 2 outputs. It was a mess at that point over there.
We're not. You want to run the beat ups?
Mine talks about beat ups and caves are all in the same area.
Yeah.
So one person goes there.
Why don't you two get all those and I'll get Shake Shack?
Who did that, Alex?
I'll tell the individual shit. I'll take care of that after. I'm an Uber Eats driver actually.
So by timing certain dominoes to arrive at a destination at a later time, we can use the other stream to stop certain dominoes. I mean, especially since we've seen today in the library, the floor is not always consistent, it's not always clean, there's always stuff trying to knock dominoes over.
When we build, there's lots of errors, in human errors in terms of the turns won't work, or the domino isn't spaced properly. Something gets one thing that we thought would go slower ends up going faster than the other thing. Okay, why we're measuring tape? They'll just use that piece of tape, so that's a lot easier for them to measure out 14 or 16.
It's very important because you need to have consistent timings between all the loops. If you have one loop that's going slower than the others, it can cause an early break in the system.
First, we were deciding to build dominoes on top of dominoes.
The structure of it's way better, and they're much more stable. The carpet, it doesn't like balance. Stop the cap.
Which we found out was like a terrible idea. So what we did is we built like 16 dominoes in a row, measured that with tape, and used that as a like format so that we could make more tape and kind of just design out what we want to build first before we actually start building it. Because then if the design is wrong, then we have to take apart everything and then do it again. So it's just so much easier just to take off tape and then put it back.
Yeah, Alex got you on camera.
So now it's becoming an assembly line, so child labor's back.
Turn, I got you. Hold up.
This is the extra templates. We realized that there's way too much demand on things like turns and 16s. Templates are so we can easily copy dominoes onto the area. I'll be there in 1 second. We have a bunch.
I see you're playing Battleship right now. Very nice. I like this formation. Look over to Parth right now. Parth, you're losing. It looks like you're kind of. I don't want to talk about it. No, we will regroup and we'll take the lead.
Yeah, so I came into teaching math the weirdest way you could possibly teach math, and that was through being a lawyer. But growing up, math was one of my favorite topics. I went back to school, and then last year, one of our best teachers, the guy who came up with AME, left for other places, and I was the one who was tapped to take over the AME class, trying to figure out new ways to do things that make it kind of grow and thrive as students need it to change.
The spirit of our AME class is wild. We still learn. In general, like, I love our class. Like, our class is like really fun. Like, it's senior year. Like, honestly, at this point, like, you just want to have fun.
You take it to learn things, but there's no pressure if you fail.
The goal is to give you a college-like learning experience, but not necessarily with college-level stakes. It's to be collaborative. It's to encourage you to make mistakes and be bold in what you're going to be doing moving forward.
So what part of the calculator are you working on right now?
This is like one of the adders, and I actually don't really know where we are. I'm just building.
Easier to crush. Everyone's gonna order on my computer, and I'll go pick it up. I'm in charge of Chipotle and Kava. So far, I got like 15 orders.
Basically, we're building dominoes, right? And then building. Holy shit! We're machining dominoes.
You can go here, or it's double. You can add height way faster.
Put away. Don't film me yelling at people. Hate the paparazzi. You're terrible.
You're so popular, Mr. Griffin.
What happened to you? I feel like you're like crying. What happened? How did this happen to you?
Just doing some bondage. Yeah.
We have reached Chick-fil-A. You go through the drive-thru. Hi, we have 3 mobile orders to pick up.
And placing dominoes themselves become very tedious on carpet, so that's why we had to put tape down to make sure we have a stable surface to put the dominoes on, and that way we're not knocking dominoes over accidentally. That's another huge issue, knocking stuff over accidentally, so we try to solve that by adding breaks in between each stream.
What are these spaces for?
It's reduce the accidents.
So that way, if a domino set falls down, it's stopped by that break.
As we started actually designing, I was like, oh shit, timing's off. Every time you add more inputs, those inputs need to work in conjunction to make sure all the timing is similar enough so that your XOR gates, your AND gates don't fail.
There's a lot of error that could like occur.
It turned out to be much harder than I thought, and we had to go through like maybe 6 or 7 days of just a basic adder before we even got like a result that we were happy with.
Basically, this is what's happening, right? We're in the final stages now, so everyone's been building. Now we're done with the design. The issue is that every now and then, if you misplace or if you put it on a bad piece of tape, it'll knock over. This is the list of everyone who's knocked something over. Interestingly, some notable mentions here to keep an eye out for. Keisha Badri. He's a guy who actually was trying to flex on everyone, tried to hopscotch through an XOR gate and got caught lacking.
That man right there, worst of us.
You put your whole foot in. He knocked it over.
Okay, Shav, you're on camera, bro.
Why is he the worst?
He hopscotched. He said, watch this, and I said, you're gonna drop something, and then he dropped it.
Unredeemable. Also, notice that Alex has yet to build anything. That's because Alex has single-handedly been leading both classes in most dominoes toppled while building. As you can see, all their names are people who once, they might have done it again.
Yeah, you're on
Notice who's not on this list. Zachary Shea. He's the best builder here. Let's give a warm round of applause for Zachary. Just for Zach.
What are your words to the fans back at home? You guys are almost done. Job's almost finished.
The word that I hope this works, I'm actually gonna cry. We worked so hard on this, it's like insane. Like the amount of people that are going into like building this and like the amount of people that went into designing it, like it better work.
Do you think it's gonna work?
Sure, yeah.
Saudi Arabia, do you think it's gonna work?
Yep.
Do I think it's going to work? Going to go on a 50-50 chance. And I think that's something I've said from the get-go, is that this could be a complete failure.
But I think with hope and luck, it will work.
So I'm like 80% confident that the project will work. Test it out literally like dominoes per second. It takes 0.03 seconds for a domino to fall.
I think at the start it was really daunting, but as gone on, looking at the time, looking at how we're working together, how we all started working together, it's become more of a realistic goal in my mind.
But I think the design should work only because Zach approved it and Keshav approved it, and Mr. Griffin hasn't said anything, so hopefully, I think so.
I'm not gonna lie, I think it's going to fail, even if we're all gonna go back and check to make sure everything's working. Even if we don't knock over any dominoes accidentally before we actually start the calculator, I think it's gonna fail because there's gonna be some random imperfection and it's just gonna spin out of control.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We just got knocked it over. That's crazy. Everyone just stay back here.
We are going to be adding the numbers. Our inputs. It's going to be 1, 1, 0, and 1, 0, 0. So our inputs are going to be the 4s and one of the 2s. What's our expected outcome? 1, 0, 1, 0. And failure is an opportunity to learn. Who wants to do the honors?
You got it.
Mr. Griffin.
We're going to count down from 3 in binary. We know what that is, right? 1, 1, 0,
0, 1.
go. Are we ready?
Yes.
So 1, 1, 0, 1, 0.
I'm just going to start it over wherever it fell.
At the end of the day, the 1S and the 4S did not hit. Okay.
Oh, we built it wrong.
Yeah.
No, that's so foul. It's in blockchain. The blockchain's supposed to go to the output of that one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there was supposed to be.
Just knock the block over and knock that.
That's the sum. Okay. No. That's supposed to go.
Every time I'm leaving on you, you don't make it easy, no. Wish I could be there for you. Give me time I'm walking out. I can hear you telling me to turn around. Fighting for my trust and you won't back down. Even if we gotta risk it all. You don't wanna be alone.
Yeah, there was problems in our design. Failure was an option. Failure was an option.
I think your love would be too much, or you'll be left in the dust unless I stuck by you. You're the sunflower. You're the sunflower.
You go in, you have an idea, you have a problem, right? Engineering starts off with a problem that you need to solve. Process of engineering, much like the process of any other science, is hypothesize, experiment, evaluate.
After this class, I did walk away with a bigger understanding of linear algebra, why we do certain things in calculus, and how we can apply that to calculus, engineering, physics.
So I see how like math is like finally like connecting. Like, okay, now everything is finally coming together. We're actually using what we're learning.
Students came up with an idea that they thought would work, and failure was the greatest teacher in this process.
Basic idea of engineering. Basically just trial and error, trial and error, trial and error.
Because linear algebra isn't just a study of, okay, why does this vector behave the way it does? It's about reasoning and understanding why that is. But linear algebra allows you to take that step back and say, okay, why does this work? Show me how it works, and how can we use it somewhere else?